Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So as you know, we're back to English videos. I'm sorry if you don't understand anything. I will try to put some subtitles here and there, but I'm not sure if I will 100%. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And today's video is about how it is to live in Canada. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and also make sure you ring the bell so you get notified every time that I post a new video. So let's do this. So I asked you guys on Instagram for any questions that you had about living in Canada, and I have them here on my tablet because I film with my phone. So I'm gonna read them and answer them as best as I can. First question is, what's the most positive thing and the most negative thing about living in Canada? And I would have to say that the most positive thing is the people and the freedom. I felt like I could be walking naked on the street. I didn't, but I felt like I could, and no one would stare at me. Everyone is just minding their own business. They don't care. We don't have the surveillance cameras that we have in Portugal, like the old ladies on the balcony or on the windows staring at everyone that passes on the street. That doesn't exist. Everyone has too much to think about their own lives. They don't care about anyone else in the positive way. I don't mean that in a selfish way. I just mean that they don't care. You can do whatever you want as long as you're happy and you're not hurting anyone. It's fine. They don't care. The most negative thing, I would have to say the weather. Even though in the summer it's pretty hot, in the winter is very, very cold. I froze my ass to death. I think the worst I got was minus 30 Celsius degrees. It was freezing. I mean, I tried once, like I had a supermarket right across the street, and I said, I'm just going across the street. I don't need to put gloves on. I'll just put my jacket on, my hat on, and that's fine. My hands won't die. I'll just put them inside of the pockets. Hell no. I felt like someone was stabbing me in my hands. It's impossible. So if you want to go outside, just go for half an hour. That's what they say. And they actually advise you when the weather is that bad and the temperatures are that low. They advise you to only be 30 minutes outside because it's not safe for your lungs. And wear everything that you can to keep yourself warm. The only thing is, if you have everything dressed that you're supposed to have, like your hat and your gloves and your jacket, you won't feel anything. It's cold, but you won't die. You feel like the warmth starts to rise and you don't feel cold anymore. Here, you get dressed and you always feel like your clothes are wet because this is pretty humid where I live. I live in the Azores, if you don't know, and it's pretty wet, so I would say the weather is the most negative thing I can think of about living in Canada. Next question is cost of life. I can't really talk about that because I lived with a family member. I didn't pay any expenses. I had my phone paid. I had my house was paid. Everything was paid. I only had money basically to buy whatever I wanted, and that was pretty nice. But I do know that cost of life in Canada it's pretty expensive if you live downtown. If you live really downtown and you want like a fancy condo, you'll probably be paying $5,000, $3,000 a month. So that's impossible to manage if you have like a regular job. I mean, if you want to live like that, you want to have more than $5,000 a month, and that's kind of difficult when you don't have like a degree or anything in Canada. So it was easy for me because I didn't pay any expenses, but for someone that's paying everything, people usually live on basements. That's like in Canada they have a lot of basements, like remodeled basements to appear like a home, but usually you only have like tiny windows and you don't have access to light, and I need the daylight to be happy, and that wouldn't be a great solution for me. But hey, if it had to be just while I was managing, I would do it for sure. But I can't really talk about cost of life because I had everything paid for, so it was pretty easy to me. Next question is interesting. What is the food like and cost of living? So cost of living I already told you, and best food. I don't know if you guys are informed, but not that I know of. I don't really think they have traditional food. The only thing I would say that they have and it's traditional is the, what is it called? I forgot. I don't know the name anymore. I have to check.
One eternity later.
I don't think they have traditional food. The only thing I know that it's traditional is the poutine, which is basically French fries on a ice cream cup, like one of those ice cream cups. They put fries in it, they put a bunch of cheese in it, like cheese cubes, and then they put gravy on it, on top. And it's the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. Every time that I went to the poutine traditional places, I always asked for poutine. And then there was a place on Eden Center, I'm not sure what the name was, but they sold hot dogs. And let me tell you, if you live where I live, you're used to high-end hot dogs because they're full of stuff. They're really big. They have salad, they have olives, they have onions, they have fries on top. So our hot dogs here are amazing, and in Canada, hot dogs are a big disappointment. But I only went to that place so I could get the poutine. And they had several recipes of poutine, and one of them was with tomato and bell peppers. And then instead of gravy, they would put sour cream on top. It was so delicious. It was like Mexican poutine. It was amazing. I loved it, and I tried some of the other ones, but this was one of my favorites, and also the traditional kind, which is the one with the cubed cheese or the cubes of cheese or whatever you want to call it, and then the gravy on top. The cheese would melt, and then when you took the fries out, it would have like strings of cheese. It was amazing, and that was one of my favorite things to eat in Canada. But traditional food, like home food, like family food, I don't think they have any traditional family food. I think since Canada is made out of so many nationalities and so many ethnicities and so many different backgrounds, I think everyone just learns from everyone else. So there's Arabic food, there's Mexican food, there's Italian food, there's a lot of other nationalities, but traditional food from Canada, I don't think they have one. I have a question here about how is like transportation in Canada, how is work, and how are the houses and homes that you can live in. So basically, for transportation, Canada, you can go pretty much wherever you want. They have the TTCs or the streetcars. Basically, they go like from every kind of major street that you can imagine, and then you can pass on from one TTC to the another until you reach your destination, and you only have to pay like one coin that I don't remember the name anymore. Oh my god, tokens. You use one token for each trip, so it's basically like Lisbon subway. You pay for one way visit and one way back. So you use one token to one way and one token backwards. And it's pretty easy to go around the TTCs, and also you have the subway. I don't really like the subway, to be honest. Not because it's dangerous. I felt safer in Canada than I feel here, but somehow I got confused with the subway because there they have they like to identify things like west, east, and north and south, and for me that's kind of difficult. Basically, I prefer the TTC, so wherever I wanted to go, I would go to the TTC, and if it was somewhere that I wanted to go and the TTC wouldn't go, I would either take the subway or ask for an Uber, and that would be much easier because you would go straight to the destination. So it was pretty easy with transportation in Canada, and I never had a problem. I never felt unsafe. Everyone was very nice, and even drunk people were nice. So everything that is said around the world about Canada is true. People are really nice. Of course, there's always shitty people in Canada and Portugal and China. Wherever you go, there's always gonna be shitty people. But in Canada, mostly everyone was nice. I remember I used to get up at 5 a.m. to go to work, and I had to get there at 7:30. So I had like 1 hour trip until I got to work. And I had to wait on the bus stop or this TTC stop. And there was a drunk man there, or a drunk guy. He wasn't like too old, 20 somethings, 30 somethings. And I was just there alone, and it was my first time in Canada. I was not sure if it was safe to be there alone. And he asked, hi, can you talk to me? And he was kind of drunk, and I was kind of ignoring him. And I've never seen this before, but he just said, okay, I see that you don't want to talk to me, so I'll just go. Bye, have a nice night. And I was like, what the I wish in Portugal it was like that. You would say, you would ignore people or say no please, and they would just leave. That doesn't happen in Portugal. Usually if you ignore people, it's worse. They get even more frustrated with you. But in Canada, I ignored him, and he just said, okay, I see that you don't want to talk to me, so I'll just leave. He was drunk. He was like drunk as hell. But he had the mindset of no is no, and if she's ignoring me, it's fine. I'll just leave. And I felt really safe from that day on. Of course, everything happens in every city. We would hear news about shootings and stuff like that, but I've never seen anything, and I would try to avoid those areas. So the people that I lived with would teach me which streets were dangerous, which streets were not. I went to an interview on Church Street, and instantly my friend said, that's not a good place for you to work at. It might be a good place to work, but the street is not very good. There's a lot of homeless people, a lot of drugs there, and a lot of shootings, so you should probably not work there. And even though I got the job, I said no thank you, because I thought to myself, I don't want to risk it just because it's a good place to work at. I might as well find something that I also like and it's a safer place. So I ended up saying no to the job, but I got a better job instead, so that's good. So someone asked me, how is it like to handle the cold, and what's the quality of life, and what's expensive and what's cheap. So here's the thing, in Canada you have to find the right places to shop at. There's always gonna be those really expensive stores that you look in the window and they have beautiful things, but then one skirt is $300, which is really expensive. Even though I could afford it, I didn't want to spend $300 in a skirt, because that makes no sense. So I would go to cheaper stores. You only have to learn which stores are expensive and which stores are not, and you really have to take advantage of sales. That's all. For the question that she asked, how to handle cold. So basically, I'm a summer bug, so I don't like cold, but I had to. So I learned how to enjoy the snow. It was beautiful with the snow falling and everything. Buy snow shoes or something like that, snow boots. Buy really nice gloves, because normal gloves won't work. You need like with interior like fur or something like that. You need something really warm and appropriated for the snow. Buy really nice hats, because if they're not appropriate to snow, it will go through them and you will feel the cold on your forehead, and it would be a major headache. So just wear everything that they say you should be wearing, and you'll be fine. As long as you're wearing all of that, it's fine. You won't feel it that much. Of course, you can stay outside for much time if you have minus 30, but that's living. And it was cute. I liked it. It was cute, all the snow, and I like to see the snow falling and everything like that. But you'll survive, you won't die. So next question is, how is it living in Canada? It's basically good. I liked it. It was a nice country to live in. People are really nice and polite, and they help you a lot. Like if you fall on the street, I remember once I had bought something on my street. There was like Winners, which is like the Canadian TJ Maxx. It's like outlet stuff, and you can find Gucci and Guess there for half the price or 70% off. You just have to keep looking. and I had bought a present to bring back to my family. And somehow, I don't know why, I lost the gift, I think. No, I lost a glove. So I was trying to holding the bag, and I took the glove off, and somehow when I looked at it, my hands, I didn't have one glove. I had this one with the glove on and this one without the glove. And I was looking around and saying to myself, I can't find the glove. Oh my god, I need to go buy some new gloves. I love those gloves. These are not my gloves. And then a homeless man said, you can keep mine if you want. Are you really cold? You can have one, like we'll share. And I'm like, oh my god, thank you so much, but I need to find that glove because it's not my glove and I need to return it. And he was like, oh, okay, so let's find it. And I was like, okay, because I'm not used to people being so nice. Like usually people look at you, you fall on the street and they don't care. But in Canada, a homeless man was like, okay, I'm gonna help you find it. And I started walking with him, and he found it on the middle of the street. He went straight to it. He grabbed it and said, here you go, I found it. And I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. He was like, oh my god, don't thank me. Like, I wish people would do the same for me. And it was no big thing. I was just helping you out. And I was amazed at how nice people were. So it's a pretty nice place to live in, except for the cold, but you can't have everything. Next question is it hard to get a job there? So I worked as a vet's assistant, and it was pretty easy because I had experience from Portugal. Even though they usually don't care about international experience, after the interviews, they would see that I learned a lot here and I wanted to learn more there. So I was good at interviews, if that's what you're asking. And it was pretty easy. The first time I was there, 2 weeks in, I found a job. And then the second time it was a bit harder because it was kind of more full. Everyone had what they needed. After a month and a half, I found a job, and in Portugal that's impossible. So it's pretty easy to get a job in the area that I work in, and they give you opportunities even if you don't have experience. Usually if it's a job that doesn't require a degree, it's pretty easy. You just give your resume and they just interview you, and if they need something, they don't discriminate. They just say, okay, so let's come next week for a day and we'll see how you learn and how you are with people, and we'll take it from there. So they're really not discriminating, and they really want to help someone. And if they need someone, and if you're nice, you may not know anything from the business itself, but if you're willing to learn, they'll get you a job, they'll give you the job. So I think it should be pretty easy to get a job if you want. Someone here is asking for weather, what to visit, and what did I enjoy the most. So the weather, like I told you, in winter it's really cold, in summer it's really hot, there's no in between. And the winter is really long, so summer lasts like 2 or 3 months, and then the rest is all winter, because what they call spring is not spring. You cannot call that spring, okay? Canadian fellows, you cannot call that spring. It's still cold, you can't wear a t-shirt, so it's pretty cold. It's either winter or summer. And then what else? What to visit. So I worked most of the time, so I didn't have time to visit that much, but I visited the whole touristic-y things, like the Toronto Museum, I visit the Toronto Zoo, I visit the, what is it called? Aquarium. What is it called? It's right next to the Rogers Center. Ripley's Aquarium, that's it. I visited the Ripley's Aquarium. It was pretty cool. And also the CN Tower, I lived right next to the CN Tower, so it was pretty cool. I had all those big buildings next to me. It was amazing. And what did I visit? I visited Niagara Falls. It's cool. It looks like small Vegas. Like they have all those signs, big signs with big lights, and a big dinosaur and all that stuff, mini golf and all that stuff. It was pretty cool. And of course, the actual Niagara Falls are pretty amazing to see. And That's it. I didn't have much time to visit a lot of stuff, but I have to say that my favorite thing that I visited was with my boyfriend. We went on a road trip for 3 or 4 days. I don't remember anymore, but we went to Weslum Coon Lake. It was like all nature, and we rented a cottage. We went fishing. It was a big lake. We were alone in the boat. It was like just nature. It was October, so a lot of the trees had those fiery red colors. It was amazing, and it was a breath of fresh air. So it was really nice, and I really loved it. So if you want to visit something really nice, it's the Weslum Coon Lake. It's pretty nice. So next question, someone is asking, why did you come back? Did you live on your own? So no, I did not live on my own. I lived with a family member, or 3 family members. They invited me to go there, and I was actually legal. I did all the papers and everything, and I had to go. So basically what I did was I had 2 semesters that I had to finish here on college, and they were the second semesters of the year. So basically I had college here in Portugal from February, I think, or January until June, and then the rest of the year I was free because everything else had been finished. I finished it. So basically what I did was I spent the first semester in Canada, and then I would return on January and do the last of the semester that I needed to finish, and then I went back for the first semester again, and then I went back to the second semester again to finish college. And I was supposed to stay there for a whole year and a half, but unfortunately my grandma passed away 2 weeks before I left Portugal, and I went to Canada because I wanted to make sure I was making the right decision. So I said goodbye to my family after 2 weeks of my grandmother passed away. She was really important to me. She was like a second mother to me. She helped my mom raise me and my cousin and my brother. So she was like one of the big pillars of the family, and she was just gone, and we suffered a lot because it was the first big loss that we had. But I knew I had to go, so I packed everything and I left, and I stayed there for probably 6 months, I think. Yeah, and then she passed away on June. I finished my college, everything was done, and then I went to Canada and I stayed until the end of December. I didn't even stay for Christmas with the family that I had there because my grandpa was here, and I wanted to make sure I was with him on those important moments because I didn't know how many of them I would have with him. So I came back. As I finished college, we have a program here to get a job. I went into that program. I worked in a lab. I came back. I decided I didn't want that for me. Canada was not making me happy anymore. Even though I loved Canada, and there will always be a part of me that lives in Canada and that stayed in Canada, I didn't like the lifestyle for myself. I'm a very stressful person, and living in that constant stress and constant traffic is a bit stressful. And also I started to see that kids wouldn't even know what nature was, because I lived like right in downtown Toronto. So a lot of the kids that I knew were like materialistic. They didn't like nature. They didn't like to hang out. So I started thinking to myself, I'm gonna have kids and they won't enjoy nature. Like, their mother came from an island where there's virgin nature all around, and he's not gonna be like me. He's gonna be someone totally different from me. So I thought to myself, I want to raise my kids with my family. I want to raise them the way my mom raised me, and I want to make sure they have the grandma right next to them. I don't want to be that mother that takes away that privilege from the grandmother. And also, I was raised with grandparents, with 4 grandparents. I had the privilege of having the 4 of them alive until I was 18. So I wanted to give that to my kids one day. And I wanted to make sure I came back to start a life here. That's it. Because I love Canada, and if my whole family would move there, I would go there. But family is very important to me, and I wanted to return to my family. That's it. I answered all of your questions. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please press like. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you get notified every time that I post a new video. If you have any more questions, leave in the comments down below, or any video ideas. I'm up to anything. Just let me know what you guys want to see and we'll make that happen. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.